In this video, we're going to create this part, which is somewhat challenging. So let's get started. Again, I'm assuming you have this on another document, or you can grab the PDF that is located on Blackboard. So I have the part already created here, and you can see that if I put it into the isometric view, that it matches what you see on your sheet. Before we begin making it brand new, I'm going to show you the sketch that it's based upon. And you can see that again, the sketch that we end up with does not exactly look like the sketch that's on the drawing sheet that you have. Even if I should come over here and hide all the sketch relations, you again see that I have not trimmed out a lot of the geometry. One of the things you will note here is that this circle comes a little bit into this curved slot. So we'll be taking a look at that, and when we extrude this, we're going to have to take care to check all our specific contours to make sure we get the actual part. So let me go ahead, let me rebuild this. And I'll go ahead and go under File, create a new part, and we'll note that where the units are in inch/pound/second. So the first thing I'm going to do is create some construction geometry. So I'm going to go ahead and select to create a new sketch on the front plane. I'm going to select the center point circle, create the circle, and before I click out of it, I'll come over here to the left-hand side under the Property Manager and select that circle to be for construction. I am going to put in a dimension here, and if you'll note on the drawing, there's a radius of 3.63. I'm going to make this a diameter, so 2 times 3.63. To this sketch now, I'm going to add in a number of construction lines, and again, those are obtained by going to the line tool and verifying that you have for construction. I'm going to put in first the horizontal line. I'm going to put these on using line segments. Okay, the first thing we need to do is to put, our next step is to add in some construction lines. I'll go up under the line tool and select center line. I'm going to put these in as line segments, so I'm going to left click, hold, make sure I get the vertical dimension here, wait till I get my coincident, and let go. I'm still in the line tool, so I can put in another four lines, making sure that they have coincident sketch relations with the outer circle. I'll now right click directly into the Smart Dimension tool, and I'll come in and put in there angular dimensions, which are 15. The call out on the drawing is 4 by 15, indicating that all of these construction lines are 15 degrees apart from their neighbor. The next construction line I'm going to put in is going to be a horizontal construction line that goes across this entire circle and making sure that we get our coincident and horizontal. Now we'll start putting in a dimension on this one. And this dimension, if you read it off the drawing, is 1.75. Now there's lots of circles here, and the callouts on the circles, there's one that says 7 by radius 0.38, and that indicates basically all the rounded surfaces that make up the outside curve. And the other ones are 4 by radius 19 and 4 by diameter 0.38. These are the next circles that we're going to put in. So I'm going to come over here and make sure I see this line and this line. And you'll see that it's the center point of this line. That's why I went all the way across. So I'll select that circle. I'll just drop another circle out here somewhere on that line. I'll put in 2 other circles. That'll be the outside. And now I'll come in again and put my dimensions in. Right click, Smart Dimension tool. This has a radius call out of 0.38, so this is going to be 2 times 0.38. The inner circle has a diameter of 0.38, so we'll do that. And the distance between this circle and this circle in the horizontal direction is 0.88. We can then hit escape, select this circle, and make them equal. And we'll select this circle and this circle, again making them equal. And then I can come in here and connect their lower quadrants with a horizontal line. So make sure I get the coincident and the vertical there. And here I get a coincident, a vertical, because I'm directly below its center point. The line is also horizontal and it's also tangent to the circle. So lots of constraints there. By the way, in the previous, right at the beginning of this video rather, I went ahead and turned off all my sketch relations, and I've just noticed that they're not showing up. So I'm going to right click here, go to Sketch Entities, and come down here and view all my sketch relations. Now it looks more correct to me, but sometimes, as I said in lab this week, you have to be careful. If you turn them off, you have to remember to turn them back on. All right, so the next tool I'm going to use is here under the slot tool. So I'm going to use a center point slot. So it's called center point arc slot. So the center of my arc, my slot rather, is here. And I'm going to go from this line and go across 30 degrees. And you'll see sometimes when you try to use this tool, it doesn't work as expected. So you come back and grab again, and it normally will work in that direction. I'm still in the slot tool, so I'll come somewhere here. So I'll again use the slot tool, again use my center point, pull, and again I didn't get it, so there we go. And then the third point gives you the diameter of, or rather the radius of the circle. So I'm going to go here, select here, that center line and this center line, and make those equal to each other. You see that there's one that would make the slots equal, but this isn't possible because the angle is different. So I'll make their radiuses equal. Go to my Smart Dimension. This has a radius of 3.25, and this radius is 0.19. And I can go ahead and use my select tool to select this radius and this radius, and again make them equal to each other. So as you see here, as I'm walking through this, I'm making sure that each element that I put on is fully defined. Go to my circle tool, put a circle around this one, and a circle around this one. And these two circles should be equal to these, because again that call out is 7 by radius 38. So this gives me 1, 2, 3, 4 of those radiuses. So I'll select here, I'll select here, and select here, all while holding down my control key. Let go of the control key and set those to being equal to each other. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a center line. So center point arc, and I'm going to select the center of the circle, come up here and grab this one, and make sure I'm going all the way across and select that other portion, that other. So the next step is to put in a arc that connects these two quadrants on these circles. So I'll use the center point arc, selecting here. There's my one quadrant, See, again, my arc tool wasn't working exactly in the right direction, so I went back and clicked it, and now here's the second coincident point that I want. So again, my sketch is still fully defined. Now I have two more lines to put in. I have, or rather, the curve here. So it's a straight line over, there's a fillet and a straight line, and a straight line over here. So let's do the right hand side. We know that we have a tangency. So as I showed before, we're going to click and drag, make sure we have a tangent there. Just come over to the circle and left click when the line jumps to being coincident and tangent. Over here, I'm just going to select the bottom of the circle. I get the bottom quadrant. I'm just going to go across vertically, or horizontal rather, and then I'm just going to come here and select this circle. If I get the tangency, that's what I would want. If I didn't get it, I have to put it in using my control key. So, and now hit escape to get out of the tool. I then select this line, making it vertical, and now what I need to use is the sketch fillet tool to put in the fillet on this line, which will have a radius of 0.38. So that'll give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and these two circles that we haven't put in yet on the top make my 6th and 7th of those dimensions. Let me just slide these out of the way. So I'll go up here to my fillet tool. The radius is 0.38, and selecting the item to fillet is just this point, and I'll say OK. So the last thing to do is to put in these two circles on the top. Now I know they are on an arc that has a radius of 3.81, so I'm going to make use of that by doing this. I'm going to create my center point arc slot. I'm going to select here, and then I'm just going to select anywhere on these lines. The next step in the process is to create these two tabs that are at the top of the part. The way we're going to do that is go to our center point arc tool. We'll select the center, and instead of being way up here, I'm just going to select these lines where it gives me the angle of the arc. And I can make the arc for construction, go to my smart dimension tool, and then put in the radius of the arc to be 3.81, and that positions the arc where I need it to be. And what it's going to do is it generates two center points, or 2 points where I can place my next 4 circles. So I'll select the circle tool, zoom in, make sure I get that point, put in the inner circle and the outer circle. Again, over here, an inner circle, which will be a hole, and the outer circle. Now for in terms of dimensions, this one, hold down my control key, this one and this one all are equal to each other. And this one, the hole, this one, and one of the holes down here are all equal to each other. So now we need to put in lines that are tangent to the circle and parallel to this construction line. You should try it, and you can find out that sometimes my automatic relations are going to cause me issues because there's so many tangency options here. So one of the ways I'm going to do this is I'm going to select the line tool, I'm going to select somewhere on the circle, and I'm going to hover next to the center line here, and you'll note that it gives me an option that it will put on a parallel constraint. Once I do that, I can take the center point, this endpoint, and drag it over such that it's coincident with the circle. It's again not going to be necessarily tangent, but as long as it's coincident with the circle. And now I can use my control key, hold to select the line and the circle and make them tangent to each other. So let's try that a second time, just selecting somewhere on the circle, go down and come near the tangency line, or the parallel, the construction line, make sure I get the parallel constraint. Take the endpoint, drag it to the circle, and then using your control key, select the line and the circle and make them tangent. We do the same thing over here. So selecting the line tool. So we can do the same thing over here on the right hand side. I'll right click, go to my sketch entity, select the line, and select this line, hover near the construction line, make sure I get the parallel constraint. I'll just use the line tool again. Again, selecting this circle, hovering near the construction line to make sure I can get a parallel constraint. So that's something kind of new. Come over and drag the line back to the circle, drag this line back to the circle, and go ahead and put on my tangent sketch relations. Alright, and that completes the sketch. It looks very busy here. We are fully defined, but I could right click now, go to my sketch entities, and turn off the option to view sketch relations. The only reason I would do that now is it's going to make it a little bit easier to view all the things that we're going to need to select to do the extrusion. So one thing I just noticed, because at a point in this video I needed to rebuild the part, is that I left off the horizontal line on the bottom here. So let me just go back and put that back in before we do the extrusion, because that would cause me a little bit of a problem here if I tried to extrude it, because they wouldn't see this inner area. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the extrusion now. I'm going to go to Features, Extruded Boss, and the distance is 0.35. Now normally we would look at it in a three-dimensional mode, but I'm going to find it easier for us to see what's going on if we actually look at it from the front end. So I'm going to come in here and I'll select the 4, well that's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the 7th radius is down here, but we've selected all of those. Let's come in here, we'll select this. Now we need these two little tab pieces here, and you'll note that this piece doesn't include the circle here, and this little piece doesn't come into the arc. Do the same selections over here, and then I need to select this piece and then the large arc, and that'll get me all the materials that I want to extrude. Again, the distance is 0.35, and let's select OK. So now put this in Control 7 so we can compare it with the actual isometric view. So this part is now complete, but it is a challenging part to make from a single sketch. You may want to try to work this part again, making maybe these tabs out as separate entities, and we could of course have done this fillet as a non-sketched entity, or non-sketched feature rather. So this is definitely a part you may want to rebuild a couple times and try it in different ways now that you know that you can create multi-part features. In other words, these two tab circles on the top would probably have been much easier to have put in using them as a separate feature. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and stay tuned for the next ones.